Yeah.
This class that's coming in right now is an absolute joke. I mean, honestly, it is a flat-out absolute freaking joke that we cannot get local talent after we had a fairly decent season last year. Now, James Williams, Taylor, the argument is still out that those guys were got because of COVID. They didn't get to do all their normal stuff. So, I mean, that's an argument that a lot of people have, because you can go, hey, well, have you seen Manny Diaz and the staff get another 5-star since then? No, you haven't. So, I mean, that argument has legs and it's valid.
Yeah.
We have to get back to recruiting, because the best teams in the nation, like I said, they're winning off the guys they recruit. That's how they're winning titles most of the time.
And, Miami just isn't a program that can recruit when it's bad anymore.
No.
Like we're
True.
not,
Very, very true.
I mean, maybe we can hang around at the bottom end of the 20s. I mean, like between 17 to 25 in that range. We could probably hang around there when we're not. I mean, that's what we have done as a bad program. But you're not going to pull top 10 recruiting classes if you're going 8-5, 7-6. It's just not happening.
Sorry, I hit the mute button. Will Ed Reed remain on the new staff? I think not only will he remain on the new staff, he'll be absolutely excited for the change, especially if it's the coaches we're talking about. I think Ed Reed would absolutely love to stay on staff with some new guys, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't want to keep Ed Reed. I mean, who's going to kick Ed Reed out of the building, honestly? It just doesn't happen. He's Ed freaking Reed. You keep that guy around. Yeah, I like I said, I don't think he would leave. I think he would actually have a bigger smile on his face. I think he'd be pretty happy knowing that Manny was gone and that we're trying to do something at least innovative or creative.
So Nathan Rudd has a question that I think interesting. Do you think Lashley gets head coaching job at Miami or anywhere else? I mean, I think he could. I don't see why not.
Like a mid-major?
Yeah. I'm talking maybe Cincinnati's a little too high.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Cincinnati would probably be the best job that he could possibly get.
Is it more like along the lines of like a Colorado State or something?
Yeah, I could see a group of 5 schools looking at him.
Yeah. Here's the question with that is Lashley willing to take that kind of a job? Does he want to be a head coach in that kind of environment?
Yeah. I mean, that's totally up to him. I mean, if you're Rhett Lashley and you were one of the hottest names in the world after your Broyles, finalist season at SMU, you take the Miami job trying to leverage it into a Power 5 head coaching job.
Yeah. Hasn't
gone the way that he wanted. So maybe he takes the approach of like, hey, I got to take what I can get. I got to, go get my head coaching job now. And, I think Lashley thought that this job was going to get him something like Colorado. Just the low end of the Power 5 stuff. That he'd kill it here.
A flashy job, bring glory back to Miami.
Yeah, then a school like Wake Forest would call him up, or a school like Arizona, or just one in the bottom tier of the Power 5 schools.
I like the comment here. It says, "For the love of God, Manny was almost outcoached by an intern." Dude, I love it, Canada Kane. I love that comment.
Yeah. Oh man.
Lane is recruiting Arch Manning. Okay, Lane is recruiting Arch Manning. Could you see him coming to Miami if Lane gets the job? I mean, that's a big thing to ask for right there. The last name alone carries so much weight for Arch Manning. I mean, he's going to have the best of the best are going to go after him, and he's the type of quarterback that he can basically pick and choose who he's going to be involved with. Yeah. He doesn't have to hope guys want him. He knows that teams are going to want him.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that? I was just going to say, do you think that Lane has that kind of connection with him already to where he could pull him into Miami if he was the new head coach?
I mean, it's hard to say. I personally, I agree with you. I think we should not expect that at all, right? He has the tie to Ole Miss, okay? I think he's also interested in schools like Alabama and LSU. I bet if Lane leaves, I bet he goes to Alabama. That just makes sense.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, unless Ole Miss, just kills it in their next hire. I could actually see them going after Dan Mullen. That would make a ton of sense. Get him back in Mississippi where he's comfortable, but it's something new, right?
Yeah.
And then, maybe. but I don't think he comes here. Like the Mannings are SEC. I don't see a Manning fitting in South Florida, man. I just don't see it. But if you're Lane Kiffin, I don't think that's going to make his decision for him because, I mean, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush or even one in the bush, Like Tyler Van Dyke on your roster right now, Jake Garcia on your roster right now is better than trying to get Arch Manning for another 2 years.
Dude, fair. Absolutely fair. Top to bottom, Jordan, that was awesome, actually. That's completely fair. And it's something that I think all Canes fans should kind of run through their mind when they're thinking about this kind of stuff. While we, of course, have to always bring in talent at quarterback, you never want to lack at that.
Yeah.
But we've got two guys that might actually be legitimate Power 5 star. We know one of them is already.
Yeah.
Jake Garcia might be another one. Yeah. We haven't had that in 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Seriously. So, I mean, hopefully things get right there. Go Canes says, will Ed Reed remain as chief of staff or assistant coach role? That's something that I see a lot of fans talking about. If what's Ed Reed's end game? What's his ultimate goal out of all of this? It seems that people still don't know exactly where Ed Reed wants to end up, as a final product in college football. I have a hard time telling the guy no. I have a hard time going, like if he wants to coach a certain position, especially DBs, I have a hard time with that. But if he's along the lines of an assistant coach, assistant coach for his group, for like a secondary or whatever, not the main guy. But if he was second in charge for maybe 2-3 years, learn the ropes a little bit and show that he can develop players. Yeah, you give him a shot because it's Ed freaking Reed. You just do it. I'd love to have him be part of the university in some way.
Yeah, I would rather keep him on as chief of staff. I don't think a lot of people know this. Ed Reed, his only coaching experience was assistant defensive backs coach for the Buffalo Bills 3 years ago. Okay? Probably only happened because Dan Morgan was the assistant general manager. Probably.
Good call. Yeah, good call.
Probably only happened because of that. It lasted 1 year. Oh, and Frank Gore was their starting running back. Probably only happened for those reasons. It happened for a year and then nothing. Didn't go on to another coaching job. Didn't get a promotion. Left the Bills organization. I don't know any details about his departure, but that just makes me think that the Bills didn't have any interest, even with Dan Morgan still. He's left since, but he was still there, and Ed Reed left.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would guess that was a favor to an old friend, and it just didn't work out the way that they both wanted it.
That's fair. I can see that being the absolute truth, honestly. The absolute truth. What do you think about Ken Dorsey? Do you think he's just so destined for the NFL that it's really not a shot for him in college?
It just doesn't make sense at any level to me. For us, I would be so furious if we hired a guy who hasn't been a Power 5 head coach unless his name's Luke Fickell. You might be able to talk me into Billy Napier, but Luke Fickell is the only Group of 5 head coach that I'm greenlighting without any questions. Okay. Ken Dorsey has no head coaching experience. And then, if you shift the conversation to offensive coordinator, it's like, but dude, the Bills will probably give him that this year. It's
doing good.
Kind of, I'm a Bills fan. It's kind of a well-known fact that he is offensive coordinator in waiting. Dude, their coordinator's
That's
name
what I've always heard.
Has slipped my mind right now. I can't think of his name. Brian Dable.
Yeah, Dable.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's interviewed for head coaching jobs. He's going to get one eventually.
Yep.
And when that happens, they like Ken Dorsey. But he actually also interviewed for the San Diego Chargers offensive coordinator job this year.
Will Dorsey be around if that process takes a year or two? Will Dorsey still be there? He might get a shot before then.
That's what I'm saying. He got an interview with the San Diego Chargers this offseason for offensive coordinator. So it doesn't make sense for Dorsey to be an OC in college because he's going to get a shot in the NFL. And it doesn't make sense for us to hire him as head coach, in my opinion. I just don't think it's a good fit right now.
I got a question here for you, Jordan. All right. From Nathan Rudd. Said, could Rambo possibly come back if we get the right coach? He and TVD, along with Mallory, is 3 players to build around. My whole entire stance on this will be, it will all come down to what kind of grade he's getting from NFL scouts. Is he being seen as a late first round pick? Is he being seen as a early second, early third, or is he being seen, as something later than that? That will decide. Well, that won't decide. That will make his decision for him, basically. Yeah. If he's being offered, or not offered, but being seen as a late first round, second round guy, that money, he's not going to stick around at Miami. He's going to take off to the NFL, and rightfully so, because you don't know what can happen with one more year in college football. You don't know what's going to happen at Miami, and new coaches coming in. He doesn't know if they're going to prioritize him or how they're going to use him. So you want to go off of your best season you ever had. That's what you want to do when you're stepping into the NFL draft. You want that to be right after the best season you've ever had. Yeah. Right now, Rambo is set up to go at least second or third round, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, because he can, next time he sees Andre Johnson, he's going to say, hey, you know what? You never had a season like I did at Miami.
The last time Miami had a quarterback room like we have right now, if you include Eric King, Jim Kelly, Vinny Testaverde, Bernie Kosar, and Mark Richt were on the roster. Good call, Martin. Good call, man. I mean, we're not, of course, at that level quite yet, but we've got some potential and hope, Just the two young guys we've got that potential and hope. Yeah. Any team with two P5 starters on their roster is going to benefit no matter what, because injuries happen. Bad play happens, all sorts of stuff happens. So if you've got another P5 guy on your roster, hey, it's all better. That's what teams like Bama do. It's what teams like Clemson, have been trying to do. It's Ohio State, you load up, depth. And with the transfer portal being so real now, you want to load up even more with depth, because some guys might take off if they're not starting for a year, So it's important.